Welcome to the PeakDay podcast, where we talk about fertility and natural family planning with our friends. Today's guest is Susan Hofer. Susan is the Natural Family Planning and Respect Life Coordinator in the Office for Family Life in the Diocese of Lafayette, Indiana. Susan and her husband, Louis, have been a couple-to-couple lead teaching couple for 17 years and are a homeschooling family of 4 children. Susan is active in the Respect Life ministry, teaches sexuality, chastity, and theology of the body classes. She runs parenting programs and leads small faith communities in her diocese. Welcome, Susan.
Hi there, Martha.
So let's just start at the beginning. How were you introduced to natural family planning?
My husband and I have been married for over 24 years now. And back when we were engaged in the late 90s, which seems like eons ago, we were really blessed to meet and become really close friends with a couple who were just a few years older than we were. They were newlyweds themselves. And Jason and Linda. And they themselves had actually gone to CCL classes and learned NFP when they were engaged. And we admired them so much, and they were such beautiful mentors for us. And so as my husband Louis and I were preparing for marriage, we really turned to them for guidance and just that fellowship and help as we ourselves were preparing for marriage. And we really admired their relationship and what they were doing. And that was one of the key things that they used in marriage, was practicing NFP. And especially at that time and in this part of Indiana, there were not a lot of NFP instructors. There was not a lot of talk of NFP. My mother was, it was in that transition time between like the rhythm method and more modern methods. And so I remember even going through the classes and showing the information to my mom, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, if I had had this would have been so much help, so helpful for her," and things like that, because with the rhythm method, she had struggled, right? And I think that was the same with a lot of women. So we were just so blessed to have Jason and Linda in our lives and to kind of help guide us through that. And still to this day, we're godparents to each other's children. And I mean, they're just beautiful, wonderful friends, lifelong friends. And, but they led us on that journey, and we've been down that road now since we've been married. So.
Did you just immediately buy in, or did you have to take the class first before you really thought, wow, this could be helpful? What was that process like?
I think that both my husband and I, because we were both raised in the faith, and we both again, this couple that we're friends with, Jason and Linda, like they themselves had wrestled with those questions. Jason was a convert to the Catholic faith, and so in our discussions before we even took the classes, we wrestled with those questions with them. We would talk with them about that, and always were able to find some really great answers to our questions, and things that really just made sense. So by the time we took the classes, we were all gung ho. I even remember it was the Nortons that taught us in Kokomo, and they even pulled us aside at the end of the classes, and they said to us, like, "We really think you and your husband, or fiance, I guess at the time, we really think that you guys would make great instructors, and you should teach this method." And we're like, "We're not even married. We haven't started using NFP yet for real." like we're like, "What are you thinking?" But obviously, in God's providence, they saw something that we ourselves did not see at the time. And, a few years later, then we did take that leap and start teaching NFP.
So you had a couple children by that point, and then decided to go ahead and take the leap into training to be teachers?
Yeah, we had our first child, and Evelyn, she's 21, and we had used NFP up to that point to space our children, to kind of, we discerned that God was calling us to, we had to get maybe maybe our home in order, I suppose, maybe. So just getting good footing, because we knew that it was important for me as a mother to stay at home to raise the kids. So we just wanted to make sure we were in a good place to do that. And so we had our first daughter, and that was a wonderful experience. And then went through a period of secondary infertility after that, and struggled then to get pregnant with our second. And so it was really beautiful, because by that point then we had seen kind of both how NFP could work so easily perhaps for a couple, but also like having to deal with the struggle of the infertility with health issues and kind of work through that, but also uh, just how beautiful NFP was in helping to guide us towards those answers. Because I would walk into a doctor's office and I'm like, I really think we need to start looking at some of these things. And the doctors are like, we don't have patients who talk to us like that, who have that kind of self knowledge, to kind of help focus and kind of hone in on where maybe to start looking for answers. So yeah, and we just, both my husband and I were very blessed by that journey, and recognized that that was a gift that we wanted to keep giving to others. And so it was very easy for us to make then that transition, I think, into, well, we're both teachers in our backgrounds, like, and so it's just really easy for us to make that transition. Then, well, let's share this message with other people then, and start instructing people in NFP as well.
So, how important was it for you to be able to bring your charts and your knowledge of your body to the doctors when you found that you were experiencing that secondary infertility?
It was huge. It was huge. I struggled with thyroid disease, and it was undiagnosed at the time. And really, it was the Fertility Cycles Nutrition book with Marilyn Shannon. I started seeing things in my charts that in my head, I was just saying, I'm a new mom, so I'm really tired because I'm a new mom, not knowing that at that time it was because I had undiagnosed thyroid disease, but because of reading through Marilyn Shannon's book, The Fertility Cycles Nutrition, I was able to look and see, like, oh, she's talking about your basal temperatures and what kind of ranges is a healthy range, and mine are not, and things like that. So literally, I did go to the doctor and I said, here are my charts and here's what I'm seeing. And I'm really wondering if I have a thyroid trouble. And that's immediately what they first started testing. And sure enough, that was it. I work with women. I can't speak highly enough to how powerful it is, how empowering it is as a woman to be able to know so many things about your body. And when you recognize that everything about your health, your well-being is so interconnected, it's a beautiful feeling. It's a gift. It really is. I think a lot of women go to their physicians with good intentions, and trusting doctors, but doctors by and large are not trained in something different, and so they don't know either. It's rare to find the doctor who really understands the complexities and the beauty of of the nature of a woman's reproductive system.
So, what is the most satisfying thing about teaching natural family planning?
There's a lot of joy that comes from having had taught these couples, and then running into them years later and seeing their beautiful families and seeing how well they're doing, and knowing that in some way you planted those seeds that in later with time and like just a nourishment, like they just grow into these beautiful, beautiful families. Like that's really edifying to see. And since we've been teaching long enough, right, we've been blessed. I mean, some of these families have become friends of ours. We all live in the same community. We were all having babies about the same time. And it's just been such a blessing to watch the fruits of that living, because I really think that using NFP, it's not just like it's not just a method, it's a complete lifestyle, and um it kind of helps you focus on what's the most important in your relationship, and the most important within your marriage, then the most important for your family, things like um that your spouse is someone to be cherished and not someone to be used, that God is ultimately in control of everything, and that we put God first in our relationship and in our family.
So, what would you say are the benefits, short term and long term, to an engaged couple who decide to live chastely before marriage?
I think the benefits are many, and I think CCL does a great job of kind of explaining those. It's a moral thing to do, so it's going to be beneficial for your marriage. It's green, it's healthy. There's all sorts of different things there that we always talk about. But I think that perhaps the biggest benefit is that it helps continue to focus your relationship on what love really is, and that is that it's always rooted in sacrifice. It's always rooted in the like the paradox of sorts, I guess, of the cross itself. Like at the times when we might feel our weakest and our most vulnerable, or we think that all is lost, those are the times that we ought to embrace that cross. In the middle of the struggles of maybe trying to, if you're postponing a pregnancy, and trying to remain chaste during that struggle of embracing that cross can really carry you through. If it's something that as a couple who's been dating, struggled with, but you still have those struggles as a married couple at times. And then we've seen those blessings then kind of carry through. And this was very unexpected for us. I, I really, as a young married person, I never would have imagined this. And when our children were young, I never would have imagined. But what has been beautiful is as our children have gotten older, and as we start talking with them about um, the struggles of chastity, and how beautiful that is, and what a gift that is, but also recognizing that it's not an easy thing, that it's a very sacrificial thing, as well, for a greater good. Like we realize that in talking with our children about this, we're not giving them expectations that my husband and I haven't already we aren't already doing ourselves. And it's made those conversations, I think, with our children more authentic. We can speak from a place of honesty and real recognition. And I think our kids know and sense that. Um, and even especially for my girls, like, because I've learned so much about my health as a woman, like it helps my daughters know, okay, this is what we're looking with, for their reproductive health too. Like, this is what's normal and healthy, and this is what's not. Maybe we need to talk to a doctor about, like I never would have imagined that the gift in the early part of our marriage of learning NFP and working through all of that would blossom even in our later years into this place where, like, it's like the gift that just keeps on giving. It just like it's moving down to the next generation. And sometimes I would say my children are like, oh, mom, especially because I not only we not only teach NFP as part of just our ministry of giving back to the church, but we also, like, I also work and do a lot of extra things for our diocese in regard to NFP. My children maybe get a little too much, maybe by osmosis, but it is beautiful, because it just kind of becomes like again, like this lifestyle, like this thread that kind of runs through our family, that there is that sacrificial nature to love, and that it's something that we all can come to recognize and learn and embrace. And then again, when you have that solid foundation that's rooted in that relationship with Jesus, with that cross, then it makes it easier to make decisions about so many other things.
When you're teaching your classes, you utilize the PeakDay app. What have you found great about the PeakDay app in your teaching?
So I love it. I know I use it. And what's been amazing is because for somebody like my husband and I, who've been doing NFP for a long time now, who remember what we call it, like the old way of doing NFP that CCL started off with various different rules, and then the consolidation of the rules. We've seen like how CCL has kind of changed over the years and things like that. We just recently taught a premenopause class to a couple who was married just a few years after we were. So it was fun because we were like, oh yeah, no, we we both remember all the stuff that we used to do with the mercury thermometers that we had to, try to into the digital thermometer age, which was like revolutionary, right? And so now we have this beautiful addition of the PeakDay app, which I love, because even the previous app that we had, the Cycle Pro Go, while it was good and it was trusted, the usability of the PeakDay app is just, it's really helpful. So it's so nice when we're teaching classes, I can pull out my phone and it's like, look, like I even do this too. See, look, and I'll just pull it up and show them, like, and then you just type in the temperature and it just does it right here. And um, so it makes it really real. And I think especially, I mean, that's one thing that I've always loved and appreciated about couple to couple league, especially compared to some other methods of NFP, is that CCL always really, I think, strives to maintain relevance through technology with the people whom they serve, you know, um, to make their materials beautiful and attractive, to make the message a message that is succinct and authentic, but also incredibly meaningful, right? And then to make it really easily accessible, like through the digital age with our smartphones and things like that. So that's a gift and a blessing, because I think then it makes it easier for people to make that transition. To from not using NFP to using NFP and have that there to help to support them. So yeah, no, it's great. I love it.
Yeah, and we're hoping that, if somebody comes to, learning about their fertility and natural family planning through the app, then they're like, man, maybe I need to know a little bit more. Maybe they'll be, inspired to take a
I
class.
know as a teacher, it's nice because the couples, can you check my app? Like they'll touch it and say like, hey, like how's my chart looking? I have a question, like that kind of thing, which is really convenient. So having the convenience of having it right there on your phone is tremendous, and it is attractive too. Which beauty is important, in order to help engage people in this day and age, especially.
Are couples more aware of their fertility and the option to choose natural family planning rather than
Mm.
contraceptive?
I know just in our little neck of the woods here in North Central Indiana that when my husband and I 25 years ago started on this NFP journey, um, it was like a no man's land. It was very hard to find. We had very few couples that we knew who were also on this journey together. We all kind of came together and we formed this beautiful community. What I'm seeing blossom now is that is that's changing. Again, I have to be patient with God, um, because at least in our neck of the woods, I'm seeing a lot more couples who are coming into marriage preparation who already have a working awareness of what NFP is. They already recognize, and it might be not from a moral perspective, but it might just be from a health perspective or something like that. They already recognize that this is a good thing for our bodies. Like I think young people are coming into an awareness that some of the things that are going on, like in the environment, some of the foods that we might be eating, some of the chemicals that we might be exposing ourselves to, are not good. I think that young people are experiencing the brokenness of what this contraceptive culture has sold us, this bill of goods, all of these lies that have been told us about that, like the birth control pill is going to make for better marriages. Well, a lot of these young people are coming from broken homes, that it's going to be empowering for women, but these women are realizing as they get into their careers that I really just want to have babies, I just really want to be a mom. um, they're starting to see the cracks in that narrative, and I think they've lived out maybe the harms of that narrative in some form or fashion. They might even be coming to us because of infertility issues and things like that. So there's a lot of woundedness, and that's drawing people in. So I'm kind of over time, I think because of a myriad of different reasons, seeing how people like nowadays amongst my children and their friends, lots of them are very well versed and not enough to teach, but I mean, like, they know what it is. They know what it is, and they know something about how it works, right? And these are among like high school and college aged kids. Um, that's a good thing. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. And you think that, okay, if if couples who use NFP are going to be more open to that gift of life, well, then they're going to be the ones having children in the next generation, right? And then especially if they have that solid foundation that NFP kind of nudges us towards. If you live that lifestyle, well, then their kids will grow up with that kind of blessing as well, and then it just continues to bloom and be fruitful over time.
You're a great blessing to Couple League. Thank you so much for
You're
sharing your
welcome.
time and your beautiful stories with us. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for being on
Yeah.
the Peak Day podcast.
Yeah, you're welcome. No, this has been a pleasure.